Hi, everybody. So I hope, the correct realization that I don't actually need to have my headphones in since I'm just talking at the camera at Facebook. So I'm hoping that the audio works fine on this one. It's a little bit of an experiment, fingers crossed. But anyways, I am Caitlin of the Crown Fox, where I spend my days working as a graphic design assistant to creative entrepreneurs. Welcome to the weekly wind down. This is where we talk about building an online business based on your needs and best ways of working, getting in the right mindset for growth and success, and all of those nitty gritty things that come with being your own boss. Hence why we need wine, right? So this week I wanted to talk about planning ahead and productivity and goal setting for Q1. So productivity and goal setting and scheduling and all of those sorts of words are my top searches on my own website and correlate with what has been my most popular blog post over the years. And I don't find that surprising at all. Those are some of my favorite things to research and experiment with and improve on. So last week when we were talking about some steps that we could take to ensure that 2018 was the best business year, I thought that maybe we should kind of zoom in a little bit more and focus this week on making ourselves our most productive. So somebody asked me last week why I was focusing on Q1, and I'm doing that, last week and this week. And I'm not saying that I'm not thinking about the whole year or my business in 2 or 5 or 10 years. Like, I definitely am. I just know myself, and I know that I am notoriously good at planning, but I have some issues in that whole implementation part. I get really excited about plans, and that kind of quickly evolves into a lot of fear and like apprehension about just how much work I'm committing to and balancing it with client work, and will it be successful? And a lot of those fears sort of put me at a halt, and I take no action. So in knowing that and reflecting on that at the end of last year, I decided, okay, like, that's how I operate. I'm not gonna let that be an issue this year, but I'm not also gonna let myself get overwhelmed, and I will just focus on a quarter at a time. Maybe this is a good idea for you too. If you feel like in the past you've gotten stuck on that whole like starting thing. So yeah, in December, I sat down and I thought about business and what I wanted to do this year and where I wanted to take it. And I wrote out this very long, scary list, and I kind of was like, wait a second, like, pump the brakes. And I said, I'm going to make a system for myself. I'm going to make something, repeatable and measurable on how I create, plan, and accomplish my goals. So these are the 5 steps that I have come up with, and I'm going to be using this year. And I thought maybe there was someone out there that could benefit from them. So I'm sharing. So step number 1 is I am deciding on just Q1's objectives or objective. Mine ended up being 3. And, I have a lot of kind of big picture goals always in the back of my mind. But I pulled back and I looked at the first 3 months, realistically, January to March. Something that I noticed in the past, reading up and studying sort of some things about productivity, is a lot of the posts I've read and experts I've, listened to or whatever, there's this focus on your business and what you can accomplish, but there's a little bit of a lack of that matching up with your life and what's going on outside of your business, and making sure that the goals that you set in your business realistically are doable with anything and everything else that may be going on. So for me, Q1 is pretty busy. I am taking some time off to go to Florida and see my family. I'm taking some time off to go see Will's family. Our lease is going to be up soon at this house, and we're definitely going to be moving. So, we have to figure out that. All of my 6-month yearly doctor's appointments fall in this time. So those will be, hours out of the day, if not the whole day off, to go do those sorts of appointments. And it's just going to be, a little bit hectic at the start of the year. And so in knowing that, I didn't want to say I was going to launch something crazy awesome or start something really huge and epic, knowing that there's going to be days where I'm completely out of the office or at least gone for, a few hours. So I guess my recommendation there is like, make sure that goals, they might be a great time for you in your business to be doing something, but you want to make sure it's something that you can actually manage and do with the rest of your life. It might look like if, kids are out of school, or if, husband's traveling and you're being a single parent, or whatever that looks like for your life. Just taking into account that there is life outside of business and that does affect your business. So where I landed goal-wise wasn't exactly big or glamorous. I realized I really needed to spend some time kind of on that whole admin and systems and being consistent part of my business. So my goals circulate around getting really organized, creating some systems, training my new assistant. And for me, those things were necessary to do right at the beginning of this year so that I could move on to bigger and more exciting stuff later in the year. Your goals may be different, but don't disregard the functional over the fabulous. It's really exciting to want to do really big, epic things, but if you're like me, you got to get some stuff like right in your business first. So that's step one. Step two is to work backwards. So once you have those main objectives, you can work backwards to create stepping stones or milestones to get those objectives accomplished. For example, if I want a fully trained VA by the end of March, that means I need to do a lot of stuff between now and then. I need to decide on exactly what tasks I'm delegating and make sure that they are pass-offable and organized enough that I can actually train somebody how to do them and are not just kind of this jumble in my head. I need to actually take time to train them. I need to find a VA, so I need to ask for referrals and interview people and make sure that we actually are a good fit. I need to talk to an accountant, make sure I can actually pay them. That's important. So there are plenty of tasks that come with having a VA or, whatever your objective might be. And I can start setting those up now and putting due dates on them over the next 3 months so that, it's not so overwhelming and stressful. And then I'm not sitting there mid-March saying, hey, I was going to have a VA by now, and then feel rushed and pressured to do it all. And then I'm hiring somebody and paying them, probably not effectively giving them assignments or using their time, etc. So working backwards, I think, is really wise. It helps you not miss any kind of small steps and things that come up. I'm using Asana to stay organized with all of those things. I love that I can add new tasks and reorder them as I remember or think of things that maybe I initially didn't think of. And so many things will come up, trust me. An example from my business is I want this VA to help with Pinterest, and in sort of organizing the tasks, I realized, they're going to be pinning my old blog posts. 20 of them are not relevant. They lead to no offers. They lead to 404 pages now. I need to go back and update those. So definitely doing it and writing all out. I kind of forgot about those blog posts because I hadn't needed to think about them in a while. So things will come up, which is, actually why, coming back to step one, it's good to sort of put a cap on it, 1 to 3 objectives, because those will start to expand really quickly. So that's 1 and 2. 3 is to create the routines and schedules. So once I was organized with what those objectives were, and I had this overview of what needed to be done between now and March, I started creating schedules with associated times within a week. So that means part of my weekly tasks now include updating those old blog posts. So I set aside, 30 minutes a week to get that accomplished in January. And then the key is you actually want to put time blocks for these on your calendar, either your Google one or your paper one or whatever you use, but set aside enough time to make those objectives actually possible. I know how easy it is to get caught up in client work, service-based businesses. I am guilty of that over the past couple of years. So now I've done a thing where I've committed actual blocks of time in my schedule that it's not specific. It doesn't say update old blog post right now, but it says this is time to work on your objectives. There's time set aside in my schedule that whatever needs to come up or whatever step I'm at, I'm working on, moving myself forward, propelling myself forward in those goals. Something that I really look forward to, down the line, is when the habit of having those times in my schedule, dedicated CEO time throughout the week, is just by nature, I just know that time is there, so that whatever, goals may come up for Q2 or Q3, like there's always this time sort of built into my schedule and something that I'm just used to doing, so that it's never overwhelming to have, big plans, because you can and already have time set aside for them. So step 4 is making time for making money. So the other side of the coin of like scheduling all these things and CEO time and all of that, the other side of that is you can't disregard the need to have time in your schedule where you are doing money-making tasks for your business, which sounds kind of dumb, but like I know we're all guilty of sitting on Pinterest for far too long saying it's work. So this is a business after all. This step really is dependent on where you are in your business. So for me right now, like 95% of my time and attention is on client work. I kind of tend to do that, as you may or may not know if you've followed me for a while. So my money making tasks are getting done, and it's, my business tasks that need more attention. But the other side, like I remember getting started. I remember before there was clients, like I mentioned earlier, you'd sit on Pinterest for a really long time and you're not exactly like, that's not making money. That's not really doing anything. I mean, maybe it's driving traffic, but like the rest of the system isn't in place that means money for you at this time. So whatever your money making task is right now, which like it is something that you have to kind of figure out on your own, which I'll cover in step 5. Make sure that there's time. I said it like a pirate, that there is time in your schedule for that. So I guess some examples of what those might be. It could be like, for me, it's coffee chats and networking. For you, it could be getting people into a funnel or something towards a product. It could be sending 5 cold emails a week. It could be, trying to get on podcasts, setting aside time to pitch podcasts, because that visibility will really help you. It could be finishing up the next product that's going in your Etsy shop. Like it really can be dependent on, your business, where you're at in your business, like how far along you are with like kind of having things automatically happen and clients automatically come in. So I can't really tell you much more than that, besides that there needs to be time in your schedule dedicated to those tasks and activities. So like that kind of informs step 5, which is to actually be measuring your return on interest, which I will be totally honest with you is a new thing for me. I have spent most of my business not being very informed about my numbers or stats or anything like that. To me, it was like, hey, I can pay my bills. Like, this is awesome. Don't take that as the way to do things. So I don't recommend doing that. The numbers do matter. I wonder if you guys can hear that. Side note, there's a guy that goes up and down the street on a moped like 4 or 5 times a day. But anyways, so yeah, the numbers do matter. I don't mean like sit and obsess over your Instagram following and, track who unfollows you and anything like that. Like I don't mean those stats or for those reasons or anything like that. But what I do mean is like taking notes of where clients maybe come from, or measuring like which funnel is doing the best or which opt into the funnel is doing best, and having that. Oh, you didn't hear it. Hi, Vanessa. That's good. Sometimes in client meetings, people are like, I can tell from their faces that like they heard it, and I'm like, oh man. So I'm glad it didn't translate onto here. But yeah, so measuring your ROI, that can be a couple of different things, depending on, again, on your business. But for me, where it's starting at, because I am kind of new to doing it and I know it's something I need to do, is taking time to talk with clients and customers, or even just inquiries, and asking the simple question of, how did you find me? To start kind of figuring out what is working best. Is it referrals? Is it Pinterest? Is it whatever? And obviously there's bigger steps that you can and should take over time, but that's a simple way to get started that I'm taking. So yeah, don't do like I did. Don't be 2.5 years in the business and realize that like you don't really know what's performing best or working best. You have some ideas of it based off some things that you heard, but there's no like hard proof or like measurable stats. Yeah, I don't recommend doing that. That being said, if you are like me, it's not too late to start, because I am. So yeah, especially with my goals for Q1, trying to become more visible. it's really important for me to figure out what is, bringing the most visibility. Hopefully it sees Facebook Lives, because I'm, although pretty nervous, I think it's going good. I'm getting used to it. What do I think is performing best? I have a couple of blog posts that get the most opt-ins. It's not something I intentionally measured. But as far as growing my list, I think those ones are doing well. And I can only tell that because ConvertKit tells me that, thankfully. As far as getting clients, right now I know it's referrals. But that's not because I'm asking the question. It's because the people that referred them are saying, hey, so-and-so is coming your way. So I want to do a better job. I just got a client, maybe we started in December, so we started talking in November. They're my biggest and best client yet. And it's been on my to-do list. Referrals are the best, I agree. But it's been on my to-do list every time I meet with this client to be like, how did you actually find me? Because they're in a little bit different of a world than this online business world. They're slightly different. And I have no idea how they found me, but they're my best client. And so I'm I need to do whatever I did more of to find you, or for you to find me, I guess. So that's the kind of stuff that I'm trying to figure out more about. And then eventually, I want to have more of a 25% focus on some things product wise, small products, not courses or anything. And I think it'll be good to have some of those measures in place so that I can start to see, what does best. Is it promoting it on Instagram? Is it Facebook ads? Is it whatever? So I know I need to get in the habit now of just measuring things and knowing where things are coming from and people are coming from. Which, this is something that I talked about when I was on a podcast recently, and it was just kind of an organic conversation, and it dawned on me / the host at the same time, I think, during our conversation, that the people that are super successful in the online entrepreneurship, world, making bajillions of dollars, we kind of notice that they don't waste time doing things that don't work. They are selling, Pinterest stuff or Facebook stuff or whatever, but that's all that they do. Yeah, they update their Twitter, but I'm sure it's automated or whatever. But in realizing that, I can't have a focus like that. I can't be Pinterest is mine because I rock it and it's awesome and it performs well. So I want to be able to have those things figured out. And I'm planning on experimenting on that and kind of measuring that and learning more about that over the course of the year. My goal is that by the end of the year, I can be this is the Crown Fox, check us out on this social media channel that does the best, that I look the best on, that I update the most, etc. And that pushes into this funnel that performs the best and all of those sorts of actions. Because I've been doing a little studying / brainstorming and thinking on what I see people that are super successful do, and I realize that's kind of the path. So that's my real reasoning behind the whole ROI thing. Went on a little bit of a tangent there. Maybe it's the wine. But I think that's a good topic. I might want to bring that up in the next couple of weeks and talk about, figuring out a system for actually implementing all of those things and ideas. But that's kind of it for all I had to say today. That's all said and done and discussed. I am curious to hear what your thoughts are about, any of the things we talked about today, productivity, etc. If you're watching this on Facebook or on YouTube later, I'd love for you to leave a comment and let's chat more about it. I figured out YouTube, I think, last week. There's a video on my channel, so did it. Woo! And if you like this discussion, I'm doing this every week, and I would love if you signed up so I can email you a link and remind you to come hang out. And you can bring wine, because I'm going to have wine every week. Actually, so this is a true story. Authentic visibility, right? Will is my boyfriend. Will and I also, yeah. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome to hear. I need to get better at, I told myself last week I was going to read comments out loud so it didn't sound like I was crazy. Vanessa just said that YouTube is awesome for visibility and that it's been really great for her. I'm excited just to learn more about YouTube and to start watching other people's videos. I am not the biggest video watcher, but I realized that I need to watch more so that I can see how people do stuff and kind of embody those same ideas. Moped just went by again. So I'm excited to dig more into YouTube. It's been pretty fun. But what I was going to say about the wine, Will and I have another little side hustle that we do, and it involves cocktails. And for something that he made yesterday, he used the last of my wine, and I hadn't gone and bought more because I didn't want to go to the grocery store. Charleston's been like really, like it snowed here and it just like lingered for days and was like icy and gross. And so I was like, that wine will be the wine I use. Like, it'll be fine. It'll be great. And then he used it. So this morning I woke up and I was like, where's the wine? And he was like, it's 9. Like, why do you need wine right now? It's 9 in the morning, you crazy. And I was like, no, I need it for later. And it was this whole thing. But we got wine. I got a new brand that I'm excited to try that had a really cute label. It's 19 Crimes. I like it. It's a little bit fruity, but it's not bad for not being super expensive. But anyways, I'm going off on a tangent here. So thanks again for joining. I'm Caitlin of the Crown Fox, and I will see you next week.